Hello, so this is a review of quadratic functions, and I'm just going to go through the problems from the Jeopardy game so that I can better explain what is going on. So the test on Friday or Thursday is going to be on transformation, standard form, min-max, and finding roots. So going through this first question asks you to graph. You're going to have to graph transformations of quadratics. So you have to identify your A, H, or K. In this case, this is an H, it's inside the parentheses, this would move right forward. So the H is always inside the parentheses, it's always opposite. K is outside the parentheses, it always moves up or down. And it is whatever sign you say. The next question has A, H, and K. So where do you begin with this one? Every time you have an A, you have to create your table first. And this A multiplies the Y values. You would then have these new Y values. You would graph those and then move this left 2, down 3. And you should get a graph that looks like this. In this case, I would do the same process. But now I'm going to multiply by -1/2. I would get -2, -1/2, 0, and -2. I can plot the ones that come out nice and even, and then I would move this right 3 and up 2. You are going to be asked to write the equation. So you have to identify if it's moved left, right, up, down. In this case, it is moved right 3 and then up 1. So the answer would be -3 + 1. Now, how do I determine the A? Well, I would move over 1 space. In this case, the scale is, for every 2 boxes, is 1. And then I would go up until I hit the line. So since I went up a whole 1, this A is 1 here. Now in this case, I do the same process where it's moved right 4, down 2, but now as I move over 1 space, I only go up halfway, a half on the Y axis. So that's why I have an A of 1/2. This A is an estimate. It is an estimate of how far up are that fraction. In our next step is the standard form, where first step is to identify the vertex, which is that middle point. Boom, 4, 1. Axis of symmetry is the line that cuts it down the middle. So you're going to write it as x = 1. In this case, you have to use the formula opposite b over 2a because it is in standard form, where a has that invisible 1. When you use this, you should get 4. In this process, again, axis of symmetry, we then get 2. For word problems, again, you are going to be most often given the equation, and you're going to be asked a question, when will the object reach its max height, and what will the height be? So the first step is Where does the min and max occur? Well, it occurs at our vertex. And how do I find my vertex? I do the opposite b over 2a, where a is negative 4.9, b is 19.6, c is 58.8. I get 2 when I do that. That is how long it will take to reach its maximum height, is 2 seconds. I then take that 2 seconds and I plug it in, and I get 78.4 meters. That is the max height. So the vertex is actually 278.4. The 2 represents the seconds that it takes. The 78.4 represents the max height. Now we go into max min. To determine if it has a max or a min, I look at the a value. If it's negative, it has a max value. Means that it is flipped upside down. In this case, it has a max value of 0. That's the highest y value. In this case, a is 1, it's positive, so it's going to have a min. I do have to find the vertex, so the first step is again that opposite b over 2a, and then I plug that in. I'm going to get negative 8, comma 0 when I plug it in. So my answer to finding the min and max is it's going to have a min of 0. The minimum value or maximum value is always the y value of the vertex. I would follow the same procedure, only this is a negative 1, so it's automatically going to have a max. I would find the vertex, which is going to be negative 3, negative 1, and then I'm going to have a max value of negative 1. This is where we have to create our equation. So we have to create a dollar equation and a people equation. So we are starting at $65 and for every $5 increase. Okay, so we're increasing the price by $5. Then our base price is 150 people, and every time we increase the price, we lose 10 people. So we create 2 equations. 65 plus 5x and 150 minus 10x. I can then use the box method or the distributive method to get these numbers, where I am just multiplying 65 times 150, 65 times 10, 5x times 150, and 5x times negative 10x. I can then write my equation. Once I find that, I can do the opposite b over 2a, find the vertex, and analyze from there. Roots are the fourth and final part of our test, and roots are just where it crosses the x-axis. So in this case, you see the 2 dots on the x-axis, so I would write it as 2, 0, and 1, 0, or x equals 2 and x equals 1. That is the proper way of writing the answer. In this case, it does not hit in a specific location. It is a little before 1, and it is a little after 5. So my answer would be like around 0.9. If you said 0.8 or 0.75, that would be fine. And around 5.1 or 5.2, it's an estimate. So it's around those numbers. In this case, when I'm given an equation, okay, and not a graph, I would do the opposite of b over 2a. In this case, I would get negative 6 over 2 times 1. I would get negative 3. From there, I would build my table. I would find my vertex by plugging in negative 3 here. I would get negative 1. That is not going to come out. That is my vertex. So now I move on to negative 2. I would get 0 at this case, and I would get 0 here when I plug those in. This would be where my roots are. I am looking for my y values to be 0. Therefore, I can say my roots are -4 and -2. Because when I plug them into the equation, they came out as 0. Those are my roots. In this case, it's going to be an estimate. So again, I would do the opposite of b over 2a. I would get -2. I would find my vertex when I plug it into the equation. And then I would build off of my x values here, -1 and 0. 0 is easy, or -1 and -3. When I plug those in, I'm going to get 1 and 1. You notice that it went past 0. This one's negative and this one's positive. So I know my roots are in between -1 and -2. So I would estimate where these cross. I would say they would cross at -2.7 and -1.3, approximately. In this case, you are given an equation. Okay. So a boulder is shot from the ground. It goes up and comes back down. That is modeled by my initial velocity of 240, right? And I would plug that in. In this case, I am just asking you, when will it land? Okay? So it's shot here. I'm asking, when will it land? How long will it take? If I'm asking for how long will it take, I'm asking for t, or time, which is your x. So the first step, whenever you are given one of these equations, is identify that this is a and this is b, because a is the number in front of x squared, okay, and b is the number in front of the x. In this case, it's a t. When I do that, I get 7.5. So I know that in the middle of this flight, and get hit, this is 7.5 seconds to get up to my max height. So then it's going to take another 7.5 seconds to get down. So my answer is actually 15 seconds to hit the ground. Now I'm going to skip these and go right to my final Jeopardy question, which again gives you another equation, okay, and it says find the coordinates of the vertex and then interpret its meaning. So in this case, you are going to get an x and a y, okay? So the x is found by opposite b over 2a. It's going to end up being 2. And then when I plug it in, I'm going to get a max height. So when I say interpret the vertex, I mean after 2 seconds, it is going to have a max height of whatever that value is. And I think it's 64 feet. That is what you need to write. That is what interpret the meaning is. This is seconds. This is height. So you have to state both. At 2 seconds, it is going to be at this height. That is what the vertex means. And that is all you need to do for this test.